You know, it can be quite overwhelming when looking at Tudor to find your perfect match, to find your perfect fit. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about perfect watches from Tudor that I would buy in a heartbeat. Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison, as always. And today we're looking at Tudor. We're looking at Tudor watches, and we're looking at Tudor watches that I would buy right now without hesitation. Tudor watches that are just perfect. Kicking off with one of the most perfect Tudors I think exists today. And yes, I might be slightly biased in my saying this because I do have the Gen 1 variant of this watch, but I also have reasoning as to why I think this watch is absolutely perfect. So a couple of years ago, we saw the rollout, or the beginning of the rollout, of COSC and METAS certified movements for Tudor watches. And as the years have rolled on, that COSC and METAS certified movement has been rolled out to more and more lines within Tudor's arsenal. But one of the first watches, if not the first watch that received this new update of COSC and METAS certification, was the Tudor Black Bay 41 in Burgundy. Now, you do have a couple of variations when it comes to the Tudor Black Bay heritage to choose between. You have a monochrome, which has been very, very popular recently. You, of course, have the Burgundy that we're talking about at the moment, and you have a blue bezel as well. The Tudor Black Bay heritage comes in at 41 millimeters in diameter, 13.6 millimeters in thickness. It has 70 hours of power with a METAS certified movement, which is the caliber MT5602-U. It's waterproof to 200 meters. It has a domed sapphire crystal glass, giving it a little bit more of a vintage look and feel. And one of my favorite features is that it actually has an aluminium disc insert. Now, this gives the bezel kind of a matte feel to it that ceramic bezels, like my Omega Seamaster, just don't have. Ceramic comes out as a lot more gloss, a lot more bright, whereas the aluminium is a lot more dulled down, a lot more muted, and a lot more subtle. Now, when it comes to why I think this watch is perfect, there's a couple of different reasons. One being the price. To get a COSC and METAS certified movement in-house for £3,730 is absolutely unheard of. It's absolutely wild. And finally, we have the pop of color from the bezel. Now, it's no secret that over the last, I'd say 5 to 10 years, Tudor has really gone their own way, and they've dared to be a little bit different. And they act very, very differently to their parent company, that is Rolex. Rolex changed the minute shade of green and everyone loses their minds. Whereas with Tudor, differently to their parent company, they do things a little bit more bold. They do things a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more daring, shall we say. And I actually really like that. And if you're buying into a brand like Tudor, you should buy in to that identity. And I think that's why this watch is absolutely perfect. It's actually quite funny. As we are doing this video and talking about these Tudor watches, we're actually discussing this exact same thing, coincidentally, on the Chisholm Hunter Patreon channel. Now, the Patreon channel is totally free, and it's a way to just focus on the watch passion. Focus on solely the watches. If you want to join, I'll put the Patreon link below. Again, totally free, and I'll hopefully see you there. Next on the list is a watch that's packed full of history, and I think that's partially why I love it so much, not to mention the look and aesthetics. This is the Tudor Black Bay 58. The Tudor Black Bay 58 was actually named for the year 1958, in which Tudor released the Oyster Print Submariner reference 7924. This is probably the oldest descendant of the Black Bay 58. Now, when we look at these two watches side by side, there's clearly been a lot of inspiration. A lot of the DNA has been pulled from the original, from the gold. And I think that's partially why I love this Black Bay 58 so much. It's functional, it has a ton of history, and it's bloody sexy on the wrist. The Black Bay 58 comes in at 39 millimeters in diameter. It has a case thickness of 11.9 millimeters. It has a COSC certified MT5402 movement and a power reserve of 70 hours. It's waterproof to 200 meters, has that aluminium disc insert that we know and love from the Tudor Black Bay Heritage editions. And it also has a ton of vintage flares on there that you can see have been dragged directly from the original. This watch comes in at £3,550, and it's a watch that can literally do it all. It has a really rugged movement. It has all the functionality, all the history you would want, and also, I just feel like this watch is very Instagrammable. I don't really know how to say this. It just kind of fits any aesthetic, any setting you put it in. I can imagine this watch being up the Munros, up the mountains in Scotland, but I can also imagine it being worn with a suit and tie. I just think this is one of the most perfect all-rounders. Before we go any further, by the way, let me know in the comments what Tudors you think are absolutely perfect. And also, if you think there's any Tudors that are perfect from outside what is currently in production, that you think they should bring back from the dead. The next watch might be a surprise for a lot of people because this year, or actually last year, technically speaking now in 2024, they released the Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT. And everyone lost their minds about this watch at Watches and Wonders, but then it was quickly overshadowed by the Black Bay monochrome. And since then, I feel like it's not really had that much time in the light. I feel like people prefer other options. And I still prefer the original Black Bay GMT opaline dial. The Black Bay GMT comes in at 41mm in diameter, 14.6mm in thickness, which I would say is probably the only thing that niggles me about this watch. It's just a little bit too thick for me. It has a COSC certified MT5652 movement with a power reserve of 70 hours. It has domed sapphire crystal glass, an aluminium disc insert on the bezel, and it's waterproof again to 200 meters. To be honest, guys, what I love most about this watch is the way that opaline white, and opaline white isn't pure white. I need to make that very clear. It's almost like, you know when you squeeze a tube of toothpaste and there's this metallic sheen to the toothpaste in the light? It kind of looks like that a little bit. It's really quite beautiful. And the way that this white dial plays against that multicolored bezel, because obviously it is a GMT model, is just beautiful. It seriously is. This watch comes in at £3,870, and I would argue that this is one of the best traveling-orientated watches that Tudor have ever released. Maybe it's me just being a sucker for white dials. It probably is me, but I think this is just beautiful. Now, the next watch I was going to put on the list, but I kind of hesitated, was the Black Bay Pro. And my reason being, I love the Black Bay Pro. I love the stainless steel bezel. I love that yellow second hand, or GMT hand rather. I love the fact that the lume almost looks 3D because it doesn't have anything holding it in place. It kind of is full lume, if that makes sense. It's almost cubed. I really enjoy those aspects, but I feel like in this watch, and I'd love to know if you agree with me, that something is just missing. There's something that isn't hitting with you. Maybe it's a personal preference thing. I don't know. But there's something here that just doesn't fit. And I don't know what it is. And if you guys do, let me know in the comments. So instead, I jumped onto the next watch, which is the Tudor Black Bay Chrono. Now, instead of going for the hype colors, the pink and the is it flamingo blue that they called it? Yeah, I think it's flamingo blue, which are the hypey Tudor models at the moment, I've gone with the OG, the classic, either the black or the white. The Tudor Black Bay Chrono comes in at 41mm in diameter, 14.4mm in thickness. It has the caliber MT5813 chronograph movement that has a power reserve of 70 hours. It's waterproof to 200 meters, has domed sapphire crystal glass, and also has that aluminium disc insert. Now, the reason I've put both of these models in here, both the black and the white, is because my bias tells me the white is the better one, but that's my bias. The Tudor Black Bay Chrono is coming at £4,930, just under the 5k mark. Next on the list, we have the Tool Watches Tool Watch. And to top that tool watch nature off, it's actually in full titanium. This is the Tudor Pelagos 39mm. The Tudor Pelagos comes in at 39mm in diameter. It has a case thickness of 11mm, which is brilliant, and it has a COSC certified MT5400 movement. It also has 70 hours of power, sapphire crystal glass, but this sapphire crystal glass is not domed, and that's partially why it's that little bit thinner. It's waterproof to 200 meters, and the case comes in grade 2 titanium with a satin finish. I feel like the dark aesthetic of titanium just works so well for tool watches. Typically speaking, when you have a stainless steel watch, it has a brighter hue to it than titanium. And I feel like when you do get that darker hue with titanium, it's more rustic, it's more rugged, it's more tool orientated. And I really, really like that. And also being 39mm, it kind of hits that sweet spot that's in most watch collectors' arsenals of sizing. This watch comes in at £4,140. You know, I've always wanted a FXD watch in my collection, literally ever since they were released. I love the history behind them, I love the looks of them, but more importantly, I love the uniqueness of them. I love the fact that it had the fixed strap bars. That's something that not many people like. It's kind of like Marmite to a lot of people, but for some reason, because it was so different, it really attracted me to this watch. This is the Tudor Pelagos FXD 42mm with a full titanium case. It comes in at 42mm in diameter, 12.75mm in thickness, and 52mm lug to lug. It's funny, I'm actually looking at the Tudor website at the moment just to confirm those specs, and it says at first it comes in at 12.75mm in thickness, but it actually says thick, and then it says the case thickness below that is 12.8mm. So I'm not actually sure which one it is. The movement in this model is the caliber MT5602, which is COSC certified and has 70 hours of power, and it has a waterproofness of 200 meters. I just feel like this watch slots even further into the tool watch category with Tudor. With that said, you do have limitations on the straps that you can put on this watch based on those fixed strap bars, so it definitely is a more outdoorsy watch. It definitely is a more tool-orientated watch. I feel like the Pelagos 39, you could kind of wear it with quite a lot of stuff because it has that bracelet, but this doesn't, so it's definitely more outdoorsy. It comes in at £3,680. And on that note, that is all from me today. Thank you guys so much for watching this Chisholm Hunter video. My name is Harrison, as always. If you did enjoy, please hit that subscribe button or follow us on Instagram at Chisholm Hunter Watches or my Instagram at HP Lifelens or the Into the Mind podcast. And I'll see you guys real soon.